Okay, let's do this last question, question 6. So what's a typical quarter mile time? So let's just go to our data dictionary. So we can see that Qsec is quarter mile time. So how fast can the car do drive a quarter of a mile? 90% of the vehicles can finish a quarter mile in how many seconds? So we want to use a histogram and a Pareto chart to answer this question. Okay, let's go to our data tab. So what are we interested in now? We're interested in quarter second time. So let's highlight it a new color. I'm going to make it green. So we want to create a histogram and a Pareto chart. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this data. Actually, I'm not going to include the Qsec cell. So I'm going to select the data, insert. So right here on this button, statistical, I'm going to click on that, and then I want Pareto chart. So Pareto's here, histogram is here, Pareto is here. So let's start with the histogram. Let's move it here. So let's, as usual, create a new tab. So I'm going to go down here, click new tab, double click, let's call this 6, move it to the end. So let's do cut, tab 6, let's paste. Let's make it big, and let's give it a new name. So this is a histogram of quarter mile time. Make this bigger. And notice that this is a continuous variable, right? It can take on any number of values. So this went ahead and created bins. So you can see it's created bins. So here, let me make these bigger. This is a continuous variable, so it had to break it into intervals. So we have 14.5 to 16.5 seconds. Then we have 16.5 to 18.5 seconds. And then this top one is 22.5 to 24.5 seconds. So it's broken the data up into 2-second intervals. So I'm going to chart design, add chart element. Let's give it a horizontal axis title. Chart axis title, horizontal. And we want to call it time, or we can be more specific. Oh, we can just call it time. I'm going to make that bigger. And then let's click on our other axis, make it bigger. And then let's go to chart design, axis title, vertical. And let's call this frequency, because it's just a count. Okay, so here's our histogram. Let's go to our question. What's a typical quarter mile time? So let's just what's the normal? Well, let's just see which is most likely to, what's our most common time interval. If we look at, it's clearly this one, right? It's 16.5 to 18.5 seconds. So let's just say 16.5 to 18.5 seconds. Okay, so now we want to create a Pareto chart. Now instead of doing that whole process again, how about we just do copy, paste, so we have another one. But now, so make sure you select the chart, so click on the chart, go to chart design, change chart type, let's go to statistical, and now let's just select Pareto. And now we have a Pareto. And that saved us a lot of time, so we didn't have to redo all of our titles and font and all of that. So let's give it a new name. So instead of a histogram, this is now Pareto chart. we have a new axis. So let's increase the font over here. Let's give it axis title, it's horizontal. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh, actually, maybe we can't. So we've got frequency here on the left, and then we've got percent here on the right. I actually don't know how to give this side a title, but that's okay. Okay, so the Pareto chart is basically our histogram, but we've just reorganized our boxes. So our 16.5, because it was the most frequent, it goes in the first spot to the left. 18.5 to 20.5 was the second most common, so that was the next bar to the right, and then 14.5 to 16.5, and so on. So this is basically the same, the boxes. But now we have this red line, which is taking the midpoint, so the midpoint between 16.5 and 18.5 would be 17.5. So see how it starts here. And now it's giving the proportion of the quarter mile times that are at 17.5, and that would be about 45%. And this is the cumulative proportion, so it just keeps adding and adding until we get to 100%. So let's just go to our question and see, okay, 90% of the vehicles can finish a quarter mile in how many seconds? So 90%. So let's just take the 90%, so that's this bar right here. So let's take 90% and go all the way over till we hit the line right here. And if we go down, that is in between these two values, which means so we have 16.5 to 18.5. Actually, I realize I kind of made a mistake here. So we have 90%. We need to rephrase this question. So 90% of our times are from 16.5 up to 20.5. So let me change this a little bit. So 16. So for that second question, we have 16.5 to 20.5 seconds. Yeah, so 90% of the vehicles finish a quarter mile in what amount of time? Okay, so we just wanted to see what that 90% threshold was. So we go to our second y-axis over here, 90%, follow the line, we bring it down, we see that it includes these first two boxes, the 16.5 and all the way up to 20.5. Okay, and that finishes out our first Excel lab.